take your seats. We'll get started in just a moment. Thank you. Wharton India Startup Competition. Sponsored by the State Bank of India and part of the 21st Annual Wharton India Economic Forum. My name is Neha Goel, and I am privileged to be one of the directors of the competition. To understand this competition, it's important to remember where the forum itself came from. Today, India's prominence in global business has grown so much as to no longer be novel, but this was once not the case. Affectionately known as WIEF, the forum was started to change that. 21 years ago, a group of Wharton MBAs were eager to show the world that their home country was more than its image of sadhus, Bollywood, and spicy curry. Post the reforms of 1991, India was just starting to emerge on the international stage as a nascent global power, and these young students hoped to show the world just that. We've showcased both current achievements and India's tremendous opportunities. This competition, in many ways, truly maintains that spirit of the original founding, that of celebrating achievement while highlighting open terrain for growth and bringing together leaders to unlock India's potential. It was begun 4 years ago, again by a group of young Indian MBAs who thought that the international coverage for smaller Indian startups was lower than it should be, and who, more importantly, recognized the powerful role that Wharton had to play in fostering and encouraging early-stage entrepreneurships. Given the school's long-standing special relationship to India and the strength of the Indian alumni community, Wharton's investments in entrepreneurship, and the prominence that WIEF itself has come to enjoy, it was a natural extension to add on a startup competition. Our goals were then, as they remain now, to spotlight emerging talent in business, providing funding, legal assistance, and other benefits to the very best of the Indian seed stage crowd. And what a crowd it has been. Past winners, Zostel, Baby Chakra, and Keto, have all become common names. The competition, or WISC as we call it, has quickly become a beacon for trailblazers in entrepreneurship, and we are so humbled and grateful. This year, despite requiring more in-depth material from applicants than ever before, we received over 550 high-quality applications and were forced to make some incredibly tough decisions. Post a round of screening by VC teams from Innoven, Nexus, and others, we narrowed the list to 50 semifinalists, who were then further, post a round of interviews, narrowed down to the 10 finalists you'll see here today. In many ways, they are all already winners, having beaten some really tough competition to get here, I should know. Today, we hope to offer you an exciting snapshot of the Indian startup world, what we have achieved to date, as shown in speeches by those like Sandeep Agarwal, what we hope to achieve in the future, as embodied in the presentations of our finalists, and how we are confronting and navigating unique challenges and opportunities, as seen in presentations by those like Kunal Kapoor. We even hope to inspire you a little, as shown in our speech by Carrie Hilton, founder of Free Set Global, a nonprofit dedicated to freeing sex workers in Kolkata. Throughout, of course, we will have our competition. At the end of the day, our wonderful judges will announce their choices for the awards, and so will you, the audience. Along with the judge-decided awards, we will poll you all on your favorites to determine the people's choice. We also welcome your questions throughout, as submitted at sli.do. Tremendous thanks go to our sponsors, the State Bank of India, Deutsche Bank, Ashika Group, Droom, Telos Investments and Technologies, Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship, Wharton Customer Analytics Initiative, the Lauder Institute, and British Airways. I will not bore you with the long list of names of everyone who's been involved in making this happen, but I must quickly thank the organizers, particularly Aman Jain, who has led this competition, our co-director, Ayush Tapuria, our wonderful team, Smita, Raj, Abhinav, and Tushme, and of course, our fantastic guests and speakers here today. As the phrase goes, WISC would not happen without you all. Thank you so much for your tireless work to make today real.
worth. And otherwise, we don't create time-poor things. So for example, in India, it's very common behavior for somebody to spend 30 minutes to look for a 100 rupees discount on a flight ticket. And you wonder, why would you do that if you're flying? Because the thing is that nobody understands, what do I do with my 30 minutes if I'm going to save that, right? And that is something that I have found very fascinating, and I've asked this at every conference. Less than 1% people know what their value per hour is, and therefore don't take very good decisions when it comes to, and therefore, when we are selling convenience to the Indian audience, it's not going to necessarily work because they don't value their time as much, right? And that is something that it comes through multiple experiences that we've observed, that people would disproportionately waste time to get a little benefit because they don't understand the math behind it, right? They don't understand the trade-offs really well. Interestingly, what has come to my understanding is that when we are copying models from the West and East, they're easy to get funded because it pattern matches to a lot of the stuff that is happening in the West. But what works over here is kind of different, right? And what I did is created a framework through multiple meetings with different startups. I had time for the last 1.5 years to visit different ecosystems and came up with a framework. So here's how it works. I'll just ask a question before I do that. Which goods and services were more efficient 10 years ago? Which goods and services were more efficient 10 years ago? Anybody wants to guess? Nothing? Okay. Anybody else? All right. Now imagine yourself as an animal who's a lion or a tiger, and I ask you the same question, that what was more efficient for you 10 years ago? You will say pretty much the same, because you're waiting for evolution to make you better. And it's a slow process. Humans are hacking that process by creating these tools and services and constantly making them more efficient. So today is the most efficient state. Tomorrow will be more efficient, right? But a lot of times we don't understand these things from a startup lens, and I'll tell you how that works. How many of you are from India, staying in India? Please raise your hand. Okay, so you guys will probably relate to this. If I have to ask you a score of efficiency out of 10 from, let's say, booking a railway ticket at a railway station versus booking a railway ticket online, what would be the score out of 10? Anybody wants to just go with that? Anybody who's done both the experiences? 2 and 8. Anybody else wants to give me a score? 4 and 8. So what you'll observe is that whenever the delta of efficiency is greater than 4, 3 things happen. It creates an irreversible behavior. You don't go back to a railway platform after trying the online platform. It results in high tolerance. Even if IRCTC is not working, slow, painful, down for 2 hours, you're not going to go back to the old behavior. And 3, you will do something called as UBP, as I call it, is unique brag-worthy proposition. Anybody achieves the new state and discovers something that is delta 4, tells everybody in the previous state and says that, hey, why don't you try this new platform? Like, imagine you have tried the online railway platform and somebody's like, I'm going to railway platform to book a ticket. You're like, dude, what are you doing? Try this. We brag about things that are delta 4. Let me ask you another question. How many of you use Truecaller? Truecaller? Know about Truecaller? Okay. How many of you have downloaded Truecaller because of an ad that you saw? Nobody. I'll tell you how you discover Truecaller. Somebody came to you and say, tell me any number. I'll tell you the name of the person. Or did a magic trick demo for you. That is the unique brag-worthy proposition. These companies, when they achieve delta 4, don't require advertising dollars as much, right? But I'll give you some more examples that will kind of make it interesting. So let's talk about booking cabs the old way versus Ola/Uber. What would be the scores be? More like same, 2.8, 4.8, that's delta 4. Let me ask you another question. Buying shirts at an offline store, buying shirts online. Give me your score now, out of 10. Don't have to be right, it's your score. 5 and 7? 6 and 8? 6 and 6? It's amazing. It's kind of going there. Somebody's going to say now 8 and 6. Anybody? 9 and 4. Somebody is there. Okay. What you'll observe, if I aggregate the score of this, it'll probably be 1, probably 0, sometimes -1. What happens is startups, what they do is they say, oh, there's a behavior, I'm going to make that digital, and here's wealth coming for me. But whenever it's not delta 4, it tends to become hard motivation. I'll tell you what happens with products and services that are not delta 4. A, you'll observe that nobody brags about it. No, people have very, very low tolerance for it. One time somebody will ship you a shirt with wrong fitment, you're like, never trying it again. Right? Obviously, we tend to go back to the old behavior as soon as we have a bad experience, right? Interestingly, these companies tend to do a hack to make themselves delta 4. Can you tell me what do they do? Anybody wants to guess over here? Discounts, cashbacks, recharge, talk time. What happens is that companies like Uber doing discounts and companies like a shirt selling discounts is not the same, because an Uber or an Ola is creating an irreversible behavior, but a shirt buying platform is not. And therefore, they temporarily create a delta 4, which creates trials, but does not create a new behavior. And that is something that I have observed to be consistently true. What I've done is obviously asked many universities to probe this and find holes in this theory to say that hey, this company was never delta 4, but still made it and created wealth. Yes, there are many companies that stay delta 1, delta 2, and delta 4 companies take advantage of them. Anybody wants to guess this example? When 2 delta 1 companies compete, a delta 4 company taking advantage of it. Somebody said it already. Google and Facebook. Sorry, what did you say? Myntra and Flipkart. Who's taking advantage of them? Sorry? No. A different dimension company takes an advantage of them. That's a Times of India, which charges them a full page ad. Or a Google, which sells the both customers to both of them, right? And so on and so forth. A Truecaller never needed to do a full page ad in Times of India, or a TV ad, or even a Google ad. And it's kind of fascinating when you think about this, that there are delta 4 companies that help people think about these things, that I'll move you in that new state because I have all these captive customers. Why don't you piggyback with us and we'll get you those guys? Does not change behavior, right? So this is the kind of state that I have seen, and I feel a lot of pain for investors. One company working out of 10 gives them enough returns, but I know many people who are in that 9 who've not done, and they don't feel good about themselves in life. And if they apply basic principles and pick good ideas to work on, I think they can do pretty well. My personal hope is that even if that 90% failure rate becomes, I don't know, 70% failure rate, will create great progress and humanity will move forward. So that's all from me. I'm taking questions after this. Thank you. You want to do it without the mic? That's fine.
Yeah, I'll just say it. Yeah. Hi, Kunal, thanks for the wonderful speech. There are a few questions coming in. So the first question which has come in from the audience is that startups have to start thinking about monetization. So what would be a good time for startups to actually move towards monetizing their business model, specifically considering that most of the investors have started looking towards monetization being an idle aspect for startups?
I think this question is a kind of a question that does not make sense. If you are creating value, you will not have to struggle for monetization. Only when you're not creating value, the equation shifts and you have to give discounts. I don't see these things truly shifting in that direction, right? If you have to give discounts to get the customers, I cannot imagine how will you ever charge them 5%, 10% extra for a behavior that is reversible, right? And that is my biggest challenge to that, and therefore monetization makes sense for, let's say, a media company saying that let me just gather 5 million captive customers to view my content and then place ads of other companies who will compete with that. But to create value, you have to create something that people truly value and want to pay money for, right? In India, like I said, we are all internet companies have been traditionally peddling convenience. But what if people are not time poor? So these questions are not being asked. I don't think Indian entrepreneurs that I have seen are curious enough to go and find insights. They're very happy because they can code, they can probably understand few business models from abroad. They just start working on something and don't really probe what is truly out there as core insights. I'll give you a small example. I was talking to a company that is doing credit rating. And I asked him that, what's your model? He's like, oh, we allow banks and others to charge us 50 rupees for every credit rating ping. I was like, have you ever considered asking a marriage portal if they want to give credit rating? Because arranged marriage is a very India thing, and wouldn't a person who's getting their daughter married will want to know credit rating of the person who is a prospective groom over here? And how much would they pay? They found out that they were willing to pay up to 10,000 rupees for one credit rating. Now, these kind of thinkings are not being applied because this sounds like an absurd idea if I tell somebody invest that, hey, in an arranged marriage, a father will want to know if the credit rating of the potential groom is good or not. It's a different thing when you think about monetization. So you have to find insights first.
The second question which has come in is, what is your view on the payment space in general, and what kind of business models in the payment space do you think would be there?
Payment space has suddenly got hot because of demonetization, but again, applying the same framework, cash remains Delta 4 for most people, even now. And as cash is back, they're going to move back to that behavior. Expecting that this country is going to become cashless immediately is hard. The reason is, there is no core motivation to wanting to, for the merchants who have been traditionally only on cash, to disclose their incomes completely, right? We have not created enough penalties or punishments for them. We've made it hard during this 50 days period when there was no cash, and suddenly you saw many merchants wanting to adopt digital. Expecting it to be a behavior to going forward is something that is hard. What has happened because of the overheating of the space, the consumer is confused with the options. If you go to an IRCTC page, look at the payments page. I mean, like there are like 200 options that you can pick from, right? And therefore, the consumer is getting confused more than, like, there are every day new options coming. There is a Bheem app, there is Paytm, there is Freecharge, there is debit card companies trying to push that, and credit card companies. The consumer just wants to pay, and they are going back to the bold default behavior of it's okay, let's just pay by cash and do things. So use cases have to be created through habits, and I think companies that focus on habits before reach will win eventually, because that will become a default setting for a lot of people, and behavior will be built on top of that. I think creating solutions without spending time on what the problem is the real challenge I see in a lot of payment space. I see many companies coming up with little differentiation. For example, Freecharge became a payments company by offering a simple model. We said for every amount of recharge you do on our platform, you get equal value coupons of different retailers against that. So if you do a 200 rupees recharge, you got 200 rupees coupons, and that's how we entered into a consumer transaction space and built our business. If you're expecting that I'll just create a platform where banks will come together and I'll put some stickers at some stores, I don't think behavior can happen based on that. So my view on payment space, expecting it to be becoming digital just because we've got a change that has happened in the last 50 days, I don't think so. A lot of work has to be done. I believe many companies are doing some interesting things, but I think, again, hyper-competitive space, companies that are doing quiet job and large companies are not even known to most people. The biggest payments companies, I can tell you the whole room probably doesn't know the name of those companies also. And that's the beauty about those companies.
Thanks, Kunal. The next question that we have is, what industries or sectors do you think in India are ripe for a Delta 4 change?
Every human behavior is ripe for a Delta 4 change as long as you can create a solution that is Delta 4. Nothing is ripe. Everything is ripe. Humans love to move. If you come and invent and tell me, Donald, there's a pill which gets rid of this, is this ripe for disruption? No.